TVET colleges are the bedrock of educational and technical vocation training in South Africa, giving students practical skills which they can top into the job market. Today, we are gathered at the Birchwood Hotel in Johannesburg, where we'll explore strategies on how the sector can be transformed and ultimately empowered. We're here thanks to the Department of Higher Education and Training, as well as the South African TVET Student Association. So part of SATVETSA's, the SA Student Association's, TVET Association's mandate is to make sure that the curriculum aligns with the job market in the sector and meet its demands. So during this multidisciplinary conference at the Birchwood Hotel in Johannesburg, we'll be tackling strategies on how to ultimately achieve this goal. Sitting with me here today is the ambassador of Venezuela to South Africa, Mr. Carlos Feo, who'll be joining me in discussion. Mr. Feo, welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
Very nice, very happy to be here. It's a pleasure, and it's a great event, 3-day event, and I have to thank the leadership of SATVETSA for the invitation they have made to me, and it's really an honor to share with all these young and dynamic people in a matter that is very important to us and to our peoples.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned before, sir, we're here to ultimately see how it is that the TVET sector, the vocational education and training sector in South Africa, can be transformed. Granted, there are a few things that need to be done, but I wanted to explore maybe the possibility of exchange programs.
Yes.
You know, we hear often that South Africa has a skills shortage, but TVET colleges are ultimately the place where people can go to actually gain those skills. So maybe let's talk to me about possibility of exchange programs from South Africa and Venezuela.
Absolutely. We are really open to work in that path of strengthening ties with the TVET College and our institution, similar institution in Venezuela called INSES. That means National Institute for Training and Education. It's kind similar as TVET College. And we can share our experience, have a program exchange, not only with the students, but also lecturers and professors, and also at level of organizers. I mean, to know the programs we have, to share programs. It is important to us because this people-to-people connection is what really can consolidate to find solutions when we are facing challenges. Countries of the global south usually face same challenges. Our countries has lived same structures of developments and has faced same challenges. Accessing to technology, for example, how to get to take this problem and to get solutions to this problem. And we believe that together we can learn one from each other in a friendly way. With complementarity is also an important issue, solidarity issues, as we are a friendship country with South Africa. No? So in this educational issue and educational sector, we are open to work with South Africa.
Lovely to hear. And what would you maybe just highlight, even maybe it's 3 or 4, just practical skills that are required, for instance, within Venezuela, and maybe some that you have identified within South Africa? For instance, we spoke about digitization, or maybe the usage of digital elements within gaining practical skills for students. If maybe you can walk me through some of the practical skills which you've identified.
You know, this INSES institution has used recently have a consultation with now 9,000 enterprises in Venezuela.
Wow.
So they do it often, kind of yearly, to update their curriculum and the programs. One they highlight for this year is the issue of in artificial intelligence.
Sure.
And this is an issue that we can also complement with South Africa. But for example, we can exchange, we have a huge training program in all the related with oil industry,
Sure.
hydrocarbons. We have a know-how of more than 100 years of know-how that we can also share. On the contrary, we can also learn about you on the
Lovely.
mining sector, for example,
Yes.
that we are just beginning to walk in that side.
Fantastic.
And you have an extraordinary experience on this
Yes.
issue. And from the Tibet College, also
Yeah.
they have training programs
Sure.
aiming to the mining sector.
Sure. And just lastly, Mr. Fair, what do you make of this conference? You know, what is the importance of having conferences like these? And I suppose, what are you most looking forward to, you know, in your time in South Africa and within the higher education space?
Well, first of all, it is an amazing conference, very well organized, very well attended.
Yes.
I can see that SATVETSA
Yeah.
is a huge organization.
It really is, yeah.
And a student organization that
Yeah.
is also very, very interesting, of course, with the support of all the stakeholders and partners.
Yeah.
And partners. And we are aware to work also with the youth people. You know, our former president, Hugo Chavez,
Yes.
bet or aim a lot on youth people. They say the youngs are
Sure.
the soul of our revolution that we are leading in Venezuela. So this dynamic sector is very willing also to have opportunities to develop not only themselves but also their countries and their communities.
Sure.
And we think this relation among our young people is very interesting.
Yeah.
Not only because we share similarities,
Sure.
but also because we can build together.
Absolutely.
Young in South Africa, but in Venezuela can build in their own countries a better society. And this link is important also to strengthen our ties and our goals and our futures.
Sure thing. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time,
you.
Mr. Ferro. It's much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
All righty then. We will then cross over to another interview in no time. This is the SATVETSA conference, 3-day conference on how it is that TVET colleges, the curriculum in particular, can be transformed, what it is that is needed for the sector to be empowered, and what strategies, practical steps that we can take in making sure that we gain its transformation. My name is Gugu Pandle, and I'm your host for today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Your
much.
name was?
Gugu.
You said?
Gugu Pandle. It's a
Gugu
surname.
Pandle.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ferro.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I will take it.
If I push in a little bit,
Thank you.
se quiere tirarlo. Parece una luna, quiere tirarlo.
Would you like a picture together? Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yes,
We're still at the Birchwood Hotel in Johannesburg on this sunny afternoon. We are at the SATVETSA Student Association's conference, where we're trying to delve into and unpack issues that are facing the TVET sector and how it is that we can improve the sector as a whole. Sitting with me as we speak is the DDG of TVET, Mr. Sam Zungu, who had a very great speech to say inside, but here we'll be unpacking a few points of what he had to say. Good afternoon, Clears.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I am great.
That's good.
The sun is good.
Yes, Joburg is showing us some love with the weather.
Yes.
Maybe first things first, DDG, how has the conference been so far? I know it's only the first half, but maybe we can speak about the importance of this gathering.
Yeah. I must say, this is happening at an opportune time.
Yeah.
In a sense that we just came out of the elections, and we have the new 7th administration that is come in with a new vision, of course, for the post-school education system.
Sure.
I've been following our minister and the deputy ministers in how they are trying to position the post-school education system and the areas of focus that they will want us to actually align to in terms of their vision. So when I looked at the thematic areas that this conference is covering, it's actually touching on all of those areas.
Sure.
Issues around the transformation of the TVET sector, which is a key sector within the PSET system in terms of the provisioning of the entry and the middle level skills.
Sure.
Over and above that, I see that they are talking about the transformation of the curriculum of the TVET sector for both relevance and responsiveness to the needs, not just of the economy, but that of individuals and the society as a whole. So far, having listened to the speeches, but also look at how the conference itself is themed. I think it aligns with the 7th administration vision for the post-school education system.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think maybe just to piggyback on what it is that you're saying, DDG, if we can maybe just highlight some of these thematic areas which are so important within the transformation of the sector.
Yeah. I think one of them has been around the fact that we are trying and making sure that our students from the TVET sector, as they exit, they are more relevant in the 21st century.
Sure.
So issues around the technological convergence, or what we call emerging technologies, what are the programs that we are offering as TVETs that respond to the digital economy, for instance?
Sure.
Because we are not going to rely on our, the mainstream industries that have been there for years. Our forefathers used to come to Gauteng in the mining sectors, for instance. Some of the sectors over the years will then die because we would have depleted all the mineral resources that are there. But how are we ensuring that we keep our young people not just with the skills that are needed for now, but we are also looking at the future. The other area is around the issues of renewable energy, for instance. We know the challenges that we've been experiencing with issues around load shedding, but also what are the alternate energy supplies that we can look into. So as we delve into solar energy, for instance, are our young people equipped to manufacture, to maintain, and make sure that these systems do not collapse? Issues around the sectors that the majority of our people in this country were excluded. Our minister has been speaking strongly around the ocean economy, for instance, to say, why are we not, as TVET sector, venture into those, training seafarers, training all different skills that you could find within the maritime space? But we've also seen and listen to our minister around the issues of mining. Obviously, there's a bigger debate in terms of the mining
the
sector.
moment, yeah.
Is it a sunset industry or is it a sunrise industry?
Sure.
But with issues around hydrogen economy, for instance, you can see that there's going to be a need of some of those minerals. And as South Africa and the continent, I think we are still well positioned to say in the next 50 or 100 years,
Yeah.
our young people can still survive. So I think those are the very important thematic areas
Sure.
which I believe that our young people are going to be focusing on. But most importantly,
Yeah.
is the issues of the curriculum
Yeah.
transformation.
Yeah.
What programs are we offering in TVETs, and how are they preparing our young people not just to go and seek employment, but also to create job opportunities for the other people, taking into account the high unemployment rate in our country. So we'll need creative minds that are not going to focus on looking for employment, but rather, generate job opportunities.
Yeah. And DDG, we know that this, small businesses or businesses are also assisting in driving South Africa's economy.
Yeah.
And when we look at TVET institutions, they are ultimately the hub and the bedrock of where people can gain these practical skills.
Absolutely.
So when you speak about, exploring things like the maritime industry and other sort of natural industries like solar energy, these things are probably going to require some technological power, if I can put it that way.
Yes.
Within your address, you also spoke about the inclusion of artificial intelligence. So just cast my mind on how it is that these are going to be incorporated within the curriculum. Now we're trying to develop practical steps, in seeing this transformation happening.
Yes. Well, I think you've touched on the most important one. Let me go straight to this one of artificial intelligence.
Sure.
Which, by the way, AI is not a new concept.
Sure.
It started back in the 1950s. Yes. It's just that somehow we have not really embraced it. So AI is not a new thing. But how we've designed our education system, not just South Africa, but the rest of the world, we have designed it not to deal with the critical issues, for instance, critical thinking, problem solving. And I think AI is forcing us to go back to those principles.
Sure.
Because education system should be about resolving problems or challenges. As you do that, you are actually also making a living.
Sure.
I was making an example of Orbit TVET College that has won an international accolade, but they were designing a solution for students that have some form of disability, which was the students that are blind, and designing solutions for them so that when they walk, they don't need somebody to assist them as they walk to a venue, for instance, or when they sit in their lounges, they can just speak to a device that says, please switch on the TV, turn on the aircon, so that you use your voice and then it's recognized, and there will be something that will happen. So it's solving societal problems. One of the young boys there was saying he has observed so many accidents on our national and local roads. And he was designing a tool that will be inserted on your cell phone, but also inserted on the vehicles. So the vehicle could then pick in about a space of about 200 meters that there's an object that I'm about to encounter. And then it sends a signal to the driver to alert the driver that there is someone. That person as well, if you have your cell phone, it will be alerting you that there's an oncoming vehicle and therefore you should move. But again, the young man was saying the challenge is that the devices that we have sometimes might require that you have, airtime and so forth, or data. And they are now advancing it so that it rely on the satellite to send those signals, and it does not require that you have data on your system. But also you are saying it depends on the nature of the person that is on the street, whether he's sober or not, whether they will be able to pick up this. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm saying those are the type of programs that we want to integrate onto our curriculum.
Okay.
Teaching young people critical thinking,
Yeah.
problem solving, and making sure that we are not looking at issues for now, but we are looking at the future. A certain professor from Gibbs was sharing with us the infusion of AI and the other tools onto our human bodies that could actually assist you to live even more than 150 years. And I think that's where we should be actually driving our young people, but also to say to our nations and to our societies that as we bring these technologies, they should not be seen as replacing human.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those are the areas that we are trying to ensure that we infuse, but also our exposure at international level. Remember, TVET colleges, they also compete on what is called world skills competitions. How will an artisan in China, an artisan in Russia, an artisan, I'm talking about the BRICS bloc now,
Sure.
be different from an artisan from South Africa?
Sure.
And we're trying to bridge that gap so that when they go and compete, at least they're also competing. And I think our minister is also very passionate about that, to say, how do we expose them? Because when we expose them to those international standards, it means they can ply their trade anywhere else in the world.
Sure.
And during those competitions, we have people from big corporates who are there to identify that talent so that they can then recruit them and put them in their entity. So that's a shift that we want to see in our TVET. But that shift will also require a shift, a mindset, a shift from the people that are the leaders in the sector, but also it will cascade down to our students. As you can see now, it is the young people that are driving the transformational agenda.
Sure.
As it happened back in 1976.
Sure.
And I think they are now driving a different agenda to say, we don't want to sit on the street and be counted amongst those that are now categorized as needs.
Sure.
But we want to be counted amongst the people that are solving the challenges of high unemployment, but also contribute towards economic development of this country.
All right. Well, Didiji, I'm being told that, our time is not on our side, but thank you so much for the insightful conversation that we have just had. We are still at the Birch Road Hotel in Johannesburg to explore how it is that the SATVET Student Association is coming together and calling for a transformation within the sector. We've also heard of very good success stories of how students have been placed within the job market and are doing good things. We are here to try to see how it is that TVET colleges can be the first choice among students in South Africa. Let's go back inside. I am now joined by the acting CEO of the service SETA, Mr. Andile Spengani. Hlekazi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Gugu.
Just maybe your overall impressions of the conference so far and the importance of it to start off with.
The conference is coming at the right time when we are transitioning into occupational qualifications,
Sure.
which implies now a review and redesign and registration of the new curriculum, which is addressing the industry needs, creating now more employability for the throughput from the institutions, and also presenting opportunities for entrepreneurship development, which is going to drive now entrepreneurship by enabling support for learners to begin to think and venture into starting their own businesses and contribute towards job creation.
Sure.
We see TVET colleges as part of their core learning programs being trades and artisanal development skills, being able to exit the institutions and start straight their businesses, and it could create a much more greater contribution towards economic growth and development and deal with the issue of high unemployment rate, especially amongst the youth in particular, that the country is grappling with.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And just to touch on that, inside you also spoke about your pledge of support, on behalf of SETAs within the country, which I think is quite important, especially within the TVET sector. Let's speak about, what that support ultimately looks like, particularly within artisan development, rather. We've just established that it is also quite a catalyst in driving economic growth. So how is it that, SETAs, or the service SETA, maybe in that regard, is supporting this TVET sector?
Perhaps as a little bit of a background before zooming into the specific support interventions that we have pledged to support the TVET sector in particular.
Sure.
As I've indicated that now we are in the process of coming up with a new curriculum for the TVET sector. Curriculum overall implies that we are registering new occupational qualifications from the legacy and historic qualifications that have been delivered through the TVET sector. So it implies that the program qualification mix is being reviewed and redone for registration with the Quality Council, which is the QCTO, Quality Council for Trade and Occupations.
Sure.
These new occupational qualifications, which we are supporting the TVET College to implement, is constituted by theory, practice, and the workplace. All these three components are forming part of the core curriculum that is now being delivered. This curriculum is funded by ministerial funding through the Department of Higher Education and Training, but not all qualifications are funded, those that have already been developed and registered with QCTO. We come in as the SETA for core funding of those that are not yet in the current funding by the department. That's then where we come in to support the implementation of these new qualifications funded from our discretionary grant funding.
Sure.
That's one element of supporting this new curriculum implementation.
Sure.
Then it implies that our funding goes multifold. We have to support the lecturers as a starting point by empowering them and capacitating them with knowledge and understanding of these new qualifications that they must deliver.
Yes, that's very important.
That implies that they must deliver what they also, as a starting point, have been trained into understanding how, because we don't want to create a situation where lecturers might be subjected to retrenchment due to the change.
Absolutely.
Our action is just, as a starting point, is to ensure that we get them to understand what this entails, these new qualifications, and be capacitated on delivering them, be empowered to deliver them. And that implies that they must be exposed to the learning material. They must be provided with learning material over and above their capacitation. We have to fund the provision of learning material that must be delivered. These, because of the practical component, need the workshops for practical within the institutions to be equipped, because some instances they don't have the workshops that are well equipped with the modern technology and infrastructure that is required,
Yes.
because these qualifications are benchmarked globally.
Sure.
The first world countries have already advanced in delivering and implementing these. So we need now to have a catch-up plan to ensure that we are globally aligned. As we also in the development process benchmark these from international institutions and first world countries to ensure that our students who qualify and become a throughput from institutions can meet the standards of the international markets, global industries, in terms of possible employment and work placement, and also when they start their own, they are aligned to the international standards in their own practice, business practices. So we have to ensure then we also fund this modern equipment as infrastructure required for colleges to implement. We further on extend on quality assurance aspects, accreditation of the industry, so that when we deal with that component of work placement
Yes.
of beneficiaries, of students,
Yes.
the industry is accredited
Sure.
to become a workplace learning industry, whereby now it's also accredited to deliver and quality assure the learning, which is an industry component. So as SETAs, we are pledging support into accrediting industry to accommodate these learners and deliver the workplace learning. We also have to ensure that the college itself is accredited and quality assured to deliver the program. So all of that is costful, very costful. It must then be supported financially. As SETAs, then we tap into our discretionary grant funding, which is at the authority of the board of SETAs to apply their own discretion as to what could be funded from that pool of funds and so forth. So the support is quite big, and it involved a lot of funds that need to be channeled into this transition process. But we have already started. It's not something that is still to happen.
That's good.
So which means the funding requirements are now required for implementation of our programs. But what we have done to ensure that really there are no delays into this is to infuse or incorporate all these support interventions into our strategic plan and our annual performance plans, so that year on year we've got targeted number of TVET colleges that have expressed their interest to participate into this new program delivery, and also we ensure that year on year we progress into this, so that even those qualifications that are not yet funded from the fiscus of the department cannot be delayed on implementation. The industry need this now. Of important aspect is that industry is also involved in the design and development of this new curriculum.
100%.
So at least now it's guided by their needs. Because there's always been a mismatch between the industry need and the supply in terms of delivery of this training. So we are finding an alignment by involving industry. We establish community of experts from the industry who have got industry expertise. And we ensure that we provide QDF's qualifications development facilitator capacitation, so that we progress in the development towards implementation of the qualifications.
Thank you so much.
Then we close the gap of funding so that not everything could be provided for by the government. Industry then tend to contribute through SETAs in terms of funding this process, because they pay levies to the SETAs. And that levy amount is divided into two: discretionary grant and mandatory grant. Mandatory grant we give back to the industry to say, also implement in your own way, using your own methodologies of the same curriculum that we have developed from your mandatory funds. But we have to support you through discretionary grant funds as SETAs.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Richard Mhlekazi. We really do appreciate your time here, but I'm being told that we have to go back into the conference. But we do appreciate also the support that the SETA is providing for, the SETAs rather, are providing for the TVET institution. So we are going to go back into the broadcasting at the moment.
But perhaps maybe just one last point that is of importance in this support.
Let me just get from technical direction.
Okay.
Okay, I'm looking at the
It's
technical team.
It's the bursaries for TVET lecturers that we provide.
Yes.
It assists, they register with various institutions of higher learning, like
Yes.
universities, to enhance their studies aligned to these new programs. We also fund even the students, especially the missing middle, from the TVET colleges on bursary that enables them to partake into these learning programs as part of the new curriculum. SETA's advantage of this funding is that it goes with stipend allowances for students that get enrolled. That creates more accessibility to learning programs, considering the costs that get involved, and also create success. They access conducive learning that happens through the stipend provision and also have got more chances of succeeding. So those are the pledges that we are putting across to support in terms of collaboration and partnership with TVET colleges, with the department, with SATVETSA as all key role players in the successful delivery of this new curriculum that we are all pulling our hands together to ensure that it gets implemented with greater success for the benefit of our country's economic growth and dealing with high rate of unemployment.
Thank you so much for laying it out. It really is lovely to hear that it is a collaborative effort as well.
Thank you.
Siyabulela Mhlekazi.
Siyabulela, inkosi kakhulu,
Inkosi.
sisi.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.